Welcome and thank you for joining our candidate forum for the Chico Unified School District. My name is Linda McMichael and I'm a very proud member of the League of Women Voters of Butte County. The League of Women Voters has over 700 chapters, every state in the United States and beyond, and we have a 100-year history of promoting democratic engagement, and here we are tonight. The many volunteers of the League of Women Voters actually work year-round, not just during election season. They register voters, they host educational community events, and they provide voters with what we hope is pertinent and timely election information. While the League does not endorse political parties or candidates, we passionately believe the candidate forums are essential to the democratic process. And here we are tonight, and we certainly hope that our candidates and our viewers find this to be beneficial. I would like to say, we had Claire up. I wanted to take a minute to thank Claire Green. Claire Green is not only our IT person, she's also the chair extraordinaire of the candidate forums, and she has put all of these together, and it is an incredible amount of work. And of course, moving the format to virtual was yet another challenge, didn't bother Claire. So I would like to take a minute to thank her. So. Yes, thank you, Claire. So we have a mere 29 days before the election happens in November, so we better get started. The Chico Unified School District has 23 schools with approximately 12,000 students. They have an annual budget of just over $100 million. They have a governing board of 5 members, and there are 2 positions open this November. Tonight, we have 6 candidates. They have all joined us, and they will be on the ballot in November. To our audience, we thank you so much for joining us. To our candidates, thank you for running. And I'm sure this is unnecessary for me to say, but we do say this to all of our forum candidates. Thank you in advance for being courteous. So let's begin. Here is the format. The format is that you will each have a 2-minute opening. We have 5 questions. You will have 1 minute to answer the questions, and you will have a 2-minute closing. We randomly selected the initial order of the way the questions would be answered. So we are going to start with Carrie Krueger, and you have a 2-minute opening. Please begin.
Unfortunately, our school board has been accused of being out of touch and complacent in decision-making on behalf of the students, parents, and teachers in our community. I have entered this race to remedy that. As a parent of a middle schooler, I bring a current, hands-on perspective that's in touch with the everyday realities of raising and educating a child in this season. We are all facing uncharted territory in education. It's paramount for our school board to advocate for the parents, teachers, and students in our community. As a member of the school board, I will advocate for the parents, teachers, and students with these core beliefs as my guide. Parents are overall smart, invested, and completely capable of making the best possible decisions for their children. Every single child deserves to be seen and supported. They are our future. Teachers are heroes and should be honored and respected and recognized as such.
Thank you. Ms. Hovey, you are next.
Well, good evening, and thank you to the League for this opportunity. As an incumbent on the Chico Unified School Board, I'm seeking re-election for a 3rd term because I still have work to do. I have a penchant for public service. In addition to the 8 years I have been on the Chico board, I have served on the Bangor Elementary School Board, the Butte County Grand Jury. I've also been involved with several service organizations, and I have been employed by several nonprofit organizations and have donated my time to several nonprofits as well. Going forward, I just want to tell you a little bit about my background. Although I studied accounting post high school, I spent the first 15 years of my career in social services, both public assistance and employment and training. The majority of my time in employment and training was working with at-risk, underserved, foster, homeless, and at-risk youth in helping them to become self-sufficient and complete their education. The second half of my career is where I dusted off my accounting skills and I became a business manager and worked for over 13 years at 2 California charter schools as their business manager. As a business manager, I was not only responsible for the upper level, high finance, accounting, reporting, and budgeting, but also the day-to-day operations of the school, the programs and services, the general well-being of the students and the staff. So these combined skills of working as a business manager, my 8 years experience on this board, my background in social services make me uniquely qualified to continue for another term on the Chico Unified School Board. I look forward to finishing the work that we have begun, and I
Thank you
for your
Mr. Tennis. Oh, I think you're on mute. Yeah, you're Mr. Tennis. I think you're on mute. There you go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Matt Tennis is my name. I'm a rice farmer. I'm a father of 4 beautiful kids who are in Chico Unified enrolled currently, or one of whom is only 2 years old and so has yet to be enrolled. So I'm very invested in this district, which right now is in crisis, and the community that the district serves is in a state of crisis right now, as we are all aware. And the COVID lockdown has had an outsized effect, negative effect on working families in our community. And as a parent of a family where both parents do work, my wife has a business downtown that we own together, and I myself am a farmer. I'm keenly aware of the stresses that are being placed on parents right now to oversee their children's education in a Zoom-based environment that frankly is not effective for many, many, many children. And so a top priority for the school district and the board of governing board right now needs to be the reopening of the schools, either in the context of shifting to a different tier, which we're in process of doing right now, which mostly is happening on the natural, irrespective of any action that we're taking on the board level. Although we need to be attentive and proactive to embracing our shift from purple to red and opening doors as soon as possible. But also we don't have a crystal ball, and so we don't know what the future might hold for whether they may be more cases in the future. And so we also need to pursue an elementary waivers to ensure that our elementary schools can be open as quickly as possible, because what our kids need right now is to be made whole. Our community has been traumatized by a lot of very significant negative events, including the Camp Fire, the dam crisis, and now COVID has been brutally difficult on not only parents of families, but also, and most importantly, the children. So Chico Unified needs to put kids first when it comes to the COVID crisis.
Thank you. Thank you.
Finished. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
Get that unmuted. There we go. So hi, everybody. My name is Mike Johnson, Michael B. Johnson, I suppose, on the ballot. Actually, we're here in Chico, been here since 2010. I have a large household of 7. Background, I had served on the Red Bluff Elementary School Board in 2007, 2008 as an appointed member for a year when a vacancy came up. I'm a pretty busy fellow, and I consider public service to be a calling, frankly. So I'm a serving member of the U.S. Armed Forces of the United States Navy as a Chief Petty Officer on the reserves, drilling out of Sacramento and San Jose. We've got 2 of our kids graduated from Chico High, 2 sons graduated Chico High, and then 2 of my daughter and my niece both graduated from Core Butte High School here in town. And I have 2 additional daughters that graduated up at Shasta High in Reading. I'm deeply concerned about the nature of our current educational system, given how we're trying to come to terms with the coronavirus. Obviously, we're having a lot of technology issues that have come to the fore. We're trying to figure out how best to educate kids while they're at home, while we ride this out and hopefully have a vaccine and the ability to get back to something of our working lives here. I think we have to follow the science. We can't rush trying to get our kids into school, no matter how much we all want that. As much as we feel that there's damage and harm that comes to kids from not being able to socialize, not being able to interact with each other, there's still the obvious notion that what's going to happen to one of our kids if, instead of just having the problems they have from not being able to socialize, if they end up bringing home this plague and they end up killing a family member because of it. That seems to be the broader concern as far as I would read it at any rate. I really want to see about a deeper focus in technology, distance learning. I know obviously the school district's made some significant strides toward there, but I think there's still a long way to go. I've got a deep background in that, and so would like to see about bringing some of that knowledge to the table here, along with my past experience. With that, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting us here, and to my fellow candidates for all running, regardless of what your background is. It's nice to be a part of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dalby, you are next.
Hi, everyone out there. I'm Caitlin Dalby. I am in my 12th year of teaching public middle school and high school. This year I'm a middle school teacher. I've been a teacher for 12 years and 8 years in Chico Unified teaching science at Marsh Junior High School. My background is, I'm 34 years old. My background is in biotechnology, and I have my master's degree in land resources and environmental science. So a lot of data analysis in my background. As a school board member, I will make decisions based on empathy and evidence. I think that evidence-based decision making is very important, especially in this day and age, and with all of the changes that are taking place in our society and in our community, from COVID to trauma to natural disasters. With my Chico classroom experience over the last 8 years, I know I will be a strong advocate for students, families, and educators. My platform is made up of 3 main issues. The first is the most pertinent in the moment, which we will get past this, we will get through this, and there are so many other issues that we need to be working on at the same time. So my first platform issue is a safe and steady evidence-based return to on-campus learning. What that means is that we do need to get kids back onto campuses as soon as possible when it is safe and in a way that is steady, and to ensure the safety and health of our entire community. My second platform piece is to increase communication among stakeholders to drive equity and inclusion. We have a duty to our students to ensure that everybody has an equitable chance at success. And the third is going beyond academics to engage and empower the whole child, which includes programs that go beyond just the classroom and make sure that all of our students have opportunities for learning to
Thank you.
Empower them.
Thank you. Ms. Griffin?
Good evening. I am here and I have served for 12 years on this board because I believe in public education. It is necessary to a free and democratic society. All children must be given an equal opportunity to learn and succeed. Public education binds us as United States citizens. It enables us to have shared values, civic pride, and love of country. It gives those of us who are willing to put forth the effort a path to improve their lives. As a school board member, I am sworn to protect and promote public education and abide by the Constitution of the United States and California. I do not take these responsibilities lightly. In the 12 years I have served on the board, I have tried to be mindful of what students need, not only today, but into the future. I have helped to develop and implement a master plan for school facilities, which enabled the district to modernize schools, beautify them, and improve safety on every campus. I work to provide long sought after stadiums at both high schools and improve athletic facilities, provide state-of-the-art performing arts center. I have worked to establish much needed career technical training programs, increase the number of advanced placement courses, and provide a wider spectrum of interesting electives to better engage students. To meet the needs of a diverse school population and provide more choice for parents, I have encouraged special interest schools. My background is as a teacher first, a social worker, and a public servant. I have volunteered in many capacities in addition to my service on the board. I am the best qualified to serve on this board, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you. We're going to move to our first question, and Ms. Hovey, you will answer it first. The question is, what do you like best and value most about the education offered at Chico Unified School District? And one minute.
All righty. Well, that's a wonderful question, but I think there's a two-part answer to that. First of all, the variety of different programs that we offer to our students. The Oak Bridge Academy, as Ms. Griffin talked about, the career tech education programs that we have in our high schools, the IB programs, college connections. There's just a really wide variety of different programs that we offer students in our district. The second part of that, what I really like about our education in our district is the teachers and the staff. As Ms. Krueger said in her opening statement, our teachers are heroes. They are heroes. They have shifted to distance learning and getting ready to maybe shift back again. But without teachers and without staff, we really wouldn't have a school. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tennis. Oh, I think you're on mute.
I feel similar to Linda. And I think that the teachers are champions, and having grown up through the Chico Unified School District and gone to Parkview, Chico Junior, and Chico High, they're my heroes. A lot of the teachers who educated me are out and out heroes to me. And if any of you are watching, you know who you are, I think. I also like the facilities of the school. I think the school district is an incredible crown jewel of our community. All those campuses, those sites, those gymnasiums, that infrastructure. And I especially like it when it's open and serving the people who have paid to put it there and who need those services right now more than anything. So that's what I really, really like about our school district, is that it provides invaluable education and it provides it in person. The trouble is that right now it's not really providing it because the Zoom-based education is a total disaster.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Well, at risk of sounding like an echo chamber here, obviously our facilities and our teachers are probably one of our greatest assets that we have. I would like to think any school district would say that. I can speak from personal experience here with having had my own two of my own kids that went through Chico Unified, and of course the two that were in Core Butte Charter, but still here in Chico and making use of some of those facilities as they went. We've had a really good combination of programs that's been available. You know, I had one of my sons was involved in the summer workability program at Chico High, you know, doing campus beautification projects. Another son was involved in the technology lab. They have a really good information technology program at Chico High. Seeing those types of services being made available are obviously very valuable, but there's still the concern about what do we do right now? We're in a time that we have not confronted before. We've not seen this type of dynamic. And while I can appreciate the notion that we've got to get back in the classroom just as quick as we can, there's no comparison with the notion of a Zoom learning versus in person, we still have to follow the science. We still have this fatal disease that's out there that we haven't gotten past yet. How do we address that as our immediate focus coming in the next 6 months?
Thank you. Ms. Dalby.
Hi, thank you. So the first thing that comes to mind is our students. Our students are so amazing, and they're hilarious, and they're so unique, and they bring so much to to our community as far as just all of the things that they do and how they learn and act. And they're just, you know, very diverse. Everybody has their own quirks. And along with that, our staff, our teachers and our support staff are the hardest working people I know, and they are problem solvers. Our teachers and support staff can solve any problem in education that you put in front of them if you put them in a room together and give them enough time and resources to do it. And so I think that we all need to remember that and capitalize on the value of our educators and our students to drive forward some progress in this district, to generate well-rounded,
Thank you.
well-rounded, awesome students.
Thank you. Ms. Griffin.
Excuse me, Griffin.
Griffin.
Okay, so could you please restate the question?
Absolutely. What do you like best and value most about the education offered at Chico Unified School District?
Okay, well, one of the things I like most is that we provide a great variety of choices. And we have different schools that provide STEM education, academics plus, two-way immersion. We have enabled some charter schools that also provide a greater variety of things, such as Waldorf education. We have striven to give parents the greatest choice possible. We also have a wide range of teachers, different abilities, different styles and we try to encourage them to create different curriculum in order to engage students. We promote that and we encourage it and we approve it once it's presented to us. And most of all, we have the best superintendent in the state of California. And from the top down is what comes our greatness. She has great staff and they're remarkable people, dedicated. And from there on down, it's great.
Thank you. Ms. Krueger.
One of the things that I love about Chico Unified is that there are a lot of different options for parents as far as what's available to them to be able to select the best learning models to best support their student, since that's what we're all here for. I love also the flexibility our district gives parents and families in supporting the different needs of parents and students, whether it be independent study through Oak Ridge or in-person learning. As I said earlier, I believe that our committed teachers truly are heroes. They change lives. I know all the teachers that I encountered going through elementary school and beyond all have impacted my life. I also love the hybrid models for secondary ed where kids can do some in person and some at home study. And I love the variety of programs such as the welding program, home ec, sports, arts, all the different things.
Okay, we're moving on to our next question, and Mr. Tennis, you will be answering first. Here's the question. The board operates under the authority of the California Constitution, the California State Legislature, the California Educational Code, and the California State Board of Education. To the extent possible, what would be your top 3 priorities in your first term? Mr. Tennis.
I suppose the top 3 priorities in my first term would be to lean on the science that's generally available and that the state of California is actually following by trying to open schools on a schedule that honors safety. And I think that we should also honor the need for safety in our community and among the elderly, parents who may be living at home, safety of teachers. Children are, of course, very safe when it comes to COVID. We're very fortunate in the current pandemic that we're facing in that children are not, frankly, very at risk, especially if you're talking about primary children. Their chances of, having a serious consequences to their own person from that are very, very slim. Secondly, after opening schools up, I would put vocational education and expanding that very high on my list. And as a third item, I probably would want to go deep in the study of history and the study of philosophy. And I
Thank you.
want to make sure that we were getting a truth-based education for our kids.
Thank you so much. Mr. Johnson, you are next. And if anybody would like me to repeat it, please let me know. Mr. Johnson?
Fine, ma'am. Thank you. First priority would have to be making sure that we have the necessary funding from both the county and state levels in terms of the new technology access. Whether we have already a good existing one-to-one initiative here within Chico Unified, but we need to see if the gear that we have is current, up to snuff. Do we need to be replacing? Do we need to be improving access, especially to some of our more rural users that are going to be in the community? Need to deal with issues like for funding for lunches and the like, that we have some existing programs. Are we still meeting what we need right now? My second priority I want to make sure that we're getting back to some of the basics of educating our kids on the reality of the world in which they live. You know, all of us grew up with civics classes. We went through a curriculum that prepared us to be citizens of our community. I'm not as sure, given the disparity that we're seeing in the news media, that people are actually being educated and understanding the world that they live in. And third, I want to make sure that there was a sense of surety and safety, that they felt like they could participate in the educational process without having to worry about harming their family at home.
Thank you. Okay, next is Ms. Dalby.
Hi, thank you. So I would say that my top 3 priorities in my first term would be, as I said previously, a safe and steady return to on-campus learning, which is where we, when it's safe, we return to campus with the safest protocols in place, in which we have self-contained cohorts to minimize daily interactions among students and staff, as well as allows for at least 6 feet of distancing even within classrooms. I also would push as soon as possible to form a community committee made up of multiple stakeholders of our marginalized groups to review our board policies and to ensure that we are following standards of inclusivity and equity in our programs here at Chico Unified. And the third one is to
Thank you. I'm going to need to stop you. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, Ms. Griffin, you're up next.
Okay, well, the main task that's going to have to be tackled in the upcoming months and this year is going to be assessing what learning loss has occurred during this period from March until the time when we actually return to education in the classroom as we know it. So that's going to be a major task, and that is going to be pretty much all consuming, I believe, for this board. We're going to have to assess it by finding ways with the teachers to do that in a way where it can be accurate. We're going to have to find a way, a strategy, some sort of teaching technique, some sort of programs that are out there that have been proven to be effective during these periods when learning loss has occurred. And last of all, we're going to have to effectively implement those. We're going to have to give professional development for teachers in order for them to understand what those strategies are and how best to implement those.
Thank you. Ms. Krueger?
All right. Every child deserves to be seen and supported. Children thrive in in-person instruction settings and need to get back to the classroom. Families who aren't ready for that need to be supported at home. Our kids' mental health matters, and given the collective trauma we've seen in our community over the past few years, we must address this and make budget modifications to support our kids when they do get back to school. Our children are the top priority of our school board. Most parents are smart, informed, and capable of making the best possible decisions for their children. Their voices matter on the school board, and it's essential that their involvement, opinions, and choices are advocated for. Teachers need to be honored, respected, and supported. It's essential that they have the appropriate PPE and that their needs and concerns are addressed. I'll listen to their challenges and advocate on their behalf.
Thank you. Ms. Hovey?
Well, thank you. I think I need to touch on the current state of affairs with our COVID-19 problem. Liz Griffin was spot on in speaking about having to tackle the learning loss. It's real, it's serious, and that will be a priority for whomever sits on the board in the upcoming years. In addition to that, I want children back in school. I know that they need the social and emotional uh, socialization. However, it needs to be done in a safe and sane way. So let's take that one step at a time. One of my biggest priorities going forward in this next term is really to maintain our budget and our fiscal stability. Last year, California schools narrowly missed being cut 10% across the board. And I'm afraid, I hate to say it, but I'm afraid with the current economic times, there are going to be some serious challenges ahead. And we do not want to get our district into a position where we will be spending.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. And Mr. Johnson, you will be answering it first. The question is, what do you believe are the top 3 challenges facing Chico Unified School District over the next 12 months?
Well, as Ms. Hovey just mentioned, the notion that the tax base is significantly reduced between the aftermath of the campfires, the loss of the local students that are no longer here at Chico State that have chosen to remain home, as well as the state coffers having taken a significant hit. Funds are going to be a challenge, period. We have to work with what we have, and yet how do we make that determination? That would probably be first and foremost. Second, we have a disparate, kind of a spread out student body that are some are here in the city, some are a little more rural. We have folks obviously that are in the canyon. They've been enduring their own fire dangers recently. And some are still students here in the district. How do we make sure that they're being accommodated, that they have means of access, that they have means of being able to provide food services to them during the course of the day? If mom and dad have to work, what are their kids going to do? That would be probably my next focus. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Dalby, you're next. Top 3 challenges.
All right, so obviously we probably could take just the top challenge off. We all know that it's smoothly transitioning to back to on-campus learning. And as Liz brought up, it's really important that we do assess the losses from this whole scenario with COVID. But that doesn't just mean academic losses. We need to assess our the trauma that our students have experienced and really make sure that especially our most vulnerable students, our most at-risk students, have the support that they need to come out of this with their social and emotional state, as well as their academics. And we also need to keep a really close eye on that budget. As Linda brought up, it's important that we know that there are some big challenges coming down the line. And I think that this next 12 months, really strongly planning our budget appropriately for the next 4 years in this 12 months is going to be essential.
Thank you very much. Ms. Griffin, you're next.
Okay, well, since I already stated what I really think is going to be happening in the next year, I would have to just piggyback on that idea and say, we're going to have to try to find some creative ways to help these students catch up and find ways to provide for them the needed instruction. So that might be going to parents and asking parents to play a larger role in that, certainly notifying parents of the loss, seeing if summer school might be a viable alternative for us to put on so we can catch students up. And then putting in place maybe some, before starting school, like with our preschool, we have like a camp that we have kids go to prepare them so that they're ready to enter school. We might want to try to do something to that effect. Just see what other districts are doing and, copy them.
Thank you. Ms. Krueger, you're next.
I'd echo a lot of the same sentiments as everyone else. Obviously, the return to in-person education is just critical, how this is handled. Our kids are all really suffering from the effects of this. What should have been a really short-term thing ended up being much longer than anyone expected, and they're isolated and suffering. How can we support their reentry well is a big question I have. I also would agree that student learning loss is a huge concern. And that we really, like I said before, we really need to be looking at addressing our students' mental health and trauma when they do return. Budget cuts from the governor are also a huge concern. How are funds going to be allocated as things are spread thinner than ever before? And I just really hope that we could take a collaborative approach in partnership with the district as we, whomever is on the board, work together to best serve our students.
Thank you. Ms. Hovey?
Okay, well, I'm going to have to repeat a few things said by others and repeat what I've said before. One of the biggest challenges is going to be that budget. Our economy is not in a good place, both in California, locally, California, and nationally, and that will trickle down and have an effect on our school district. The return to in-person learning and the learning loss is currently and will be ongoing. Quite a big challenge. The third thing that I am thinking about as a challenge, and it has been a challenge for several years and will continue to be one, is the recruitment and retention of outstanding teachers and outstanding staff, especially special education teachers. So, we really want to strategize on how we can recruit and retain outstanding teachers and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tanis?
Right. As a business owner and an analyst, formerly one who has worked in Sacramento politics for 15 years, I'm very familiar with budgets, both on a state level and on a local government level, such as we are dealing with here with the school district. And yes, very, very troubled times ahead. This COVID lockdown has had a huge economic impact at every level, and that's going to mean fewer dollars coming in down the road to our school district, and it's a very serious concern. I think that the learning loss problem is huge. It is going to be huge. This current generation of kids who are having to deal with this Zoom-based education are really getting a short end of the stick right now, especially since all the science points to the reality that they should be in school and in-person learning right now. Cohorts are a wonderful opportunity, and it's been there for a long time. You have the waiver process, which could have moved faster than it has, and we need to get our kids back in school. Harvard Medical School, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and CDC.
Thank you. I'm going to stop you. Okay, we're going to move on to our next question. And Ms. Dalby, you will be the first respondent. And here's the question. As one of 5 board members responsible for leading Chico's school district, what leadership experience and qualities would you bring to the job? And Ms. Dalby?
So I was asked one time in a job interview, what's the difference between a leader and a boss? And a leader is somebody who rolls up their sleeves and gets in the game with their team. And I have this tremendous experience as a teacher working with some of the hardest working people I know, who we collaborate and work as a team so much. And I just know that with the team put together, with our current members and the potential for the 2 new spots, that if I'm in there, the qualities that will come together to lead the district will be that of the mindset that we are in this together, and that we will listen to each other, and that we will collaborate with each other, and we will hear from our families firsthand, and we will hear from our community members firsthand in order to do what's best.
Thank you. Gonna stop you. Okay, next up, Ms. Griffin, you're next. Leadership.
Okay. Leadership qualities. Well, I have a lot of leadership qualities. I have been the president of the school board for 3 times during the Great Recession, the campfire, when people were coming into Chico Unified and we had to help Paradise figure out what they were going to do with their kids and how we were going to help support them. Also during this COVID era, where it took us all by surprise, and we had to think logically. We had to consider the needs of all citizens in this community, all students and their safety. And my background in law, in social service programs, in running those type of things has given me great leadership strengths.
Thank you. Ms. Krueger?
All right. I think to me, what really stands out as a leader, quality that's really important is that a leader is a listener. I think that is just a key quality that's missing in most of our public servants in our community, and just not even our local community, just, you know, nationally, even on national level. So I think being a listener and then being willing to advocate on behalf of those that we serve. So that's something that I'm committed to. I have always been a natural advocate for my daughter in whatever school setting she's been in. She's in 8th grade. So for her the last 9 years of her education, that's something that I have always not only listened to her needs, but the needs of other parents and teachers in our schools that she's been a part of, and then have naturally just advocated on their behalf and spoken up. I've worked in a lot of different volunteer type positions where I have served the students in our community in different youth group settings, and even overseas in different opportunities to work closely with kids.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hovey?
All righty. Well, in addition to also having served as the board president with Chico Unified School Board, I think the 13 years that I spent as a business manager being responsible for a charter school really showed some leadership ability. Being a business manager is not an 8 to 5 job. One mistake can affect the lives of 400 students and their families. It was a heavy load to take. I wasn't in it alone. Of course, we had a principal, but you know, a math miscalculation on a budget projection could have made everything go sour. So really, the time that I have spent and successfully built a charter school from 40 students to over 400 and left them with $1 million reserve, that I think can attest to some of my leadership skills. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tanis?
Thank you. I've been in leadership positions my entire professional and much of my personal life. As mentioned, I worked in government for 15 years in Sacramento for various people, and at one point was a high-level officer in a major statewide association. On the local level, I have organized a coalition of working families and parents called Chico Parents for In-Person Learning. It's come together over the past 2 months, and it already has almost 350 members. So I'm proud of the work that we're doing now to advocate on behalf of working families toward opening schools. Also, as a business owner and an employer, I know a lot of the ins and outs of what it means to have people working with me, and the collaboration that occurs in a professional environment as well. And then I'm the father of 4 very young kids, and so there's a lot of leadership that goes into that as well.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
All right, there we go. Thank you. Well, I've been leading people in my professional life since 1994. I got my first job out of high school. I've had past school board experience. I was in senior support engineering at Apple with a staff of my own. Of course, my military experience along the way. I've organizational, logistics, budgets, and really above all, managing and leading people in complex and stressful environments. there's kind of an old saw about leadership. It ultimately comes down to determining options, but the first and foremost is you have to have a set of core values. You have to have principles by which you adhere to. You have to be able to evaluate your people and your resources. What do you have to work with? And above all, you need to be able to listen to your people. You need to see what are their concerns, what are the stakeholders involved. In this case, we've got parents, we've got teachers, we've got staff, we've got the kids themselves. We have to make the best decisions that we can with what we have to work with. We have to accept the consequences of those, good or bad. And finally, we have to be as flexible as we can be as the circumstances warrant and change.
Okay, thank you. We are ready for our final question, and Ms. Hovey, you will be the first respondent. And here's the question. As an elected official, how do you propose to maintain the public's trust in the Chico Unified School District and its board?
That's a really wonderful question, because one of the things that I have been working very, very diligently is to always remain transparent in everything that we do. As a board member, it is our fiduciary duty to oversee the finances of the Chico Unified School District and to be good stewards of the tax dollar. Every decision that we make, we ask hard questions, sometimes questions that, are uncomfortable, but transparency is the #1 priority, and I will continue to make sure that we do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Krueger?
Yes, I'd say that I'm committed to representing the needs of our community and working hard to listen and be the advocate that our community needs, our students, parents, and teachers, that is. And also working to hold the district accountable to the will of the people that are that they serve.
Okay. Ms. Griffin?
Well, I think keeping the trust involves doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is always putting the students first, not being out there seeking our own personal agendas, but finding out what is needed in our students and in the community. That also means acting responsibly. As Linda said, making sure that we are putting forth a budget that is not a deficit budget, and that we're not spending in deficit, and that we're always setting a good example of good communication so that our students can see that this is how democracy works. It can work among cooperative people, and especially as a nonpartisan group such as we are.
Thank you. Mr. Tennis?
We're not putting students first right now in Chico Unified School District. Absolutely not. As a parent who's living with 4 of them, I can tell you that the lockdown has been a disaster for these kids. They are on their person scientifically not in danger right now. And so if we want to put kids first, we should get them back in in-person school and in-person learning as soon as possible. Because of my background in government, I am a person who knows how government is supposed to work. I understand governmental policy and procedures and how boards are supposed to operate and how public comment is supposed to operate. And I think that one key element to restoring trust will be diversity on the school board. And I would like to bring diversity because my perspectives are and my approach to things is different from what's already there.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Well, I'm sorry, I have to take a moment. I have deep concerns about what I just heard. Regardless of whether I'm going to be successfully elected to the board or not, I've got to follow the science here. And the fact that our kids, whether or not they are themselves at risk for coronavirus, doesn't change the fact that they live with families, they live with aunts, they live with uncles, they live with grandparents. The notion that these youngsters, as hard as this is right now for them to be at home and to not be getting the quality education they want, they're getting
Mr.
the best services. Excuse me.
Can I just refresh your memory on the question, and that was regaining or maintaining the public's trust?
I understand,
Okay.
ma'am, and we're trying to
Okay.
speak to that question right here. My
Okay.
concern is no, we can't regain any trust if we're not speaking truth to power. And if we're going to be in a position of power, we have to be able to speak to the notion that our kids, whether they like it or not, we're in this position right now for the next at least 3 to 6 months, if not longer. It's not responsible for us to even suggest, for anybody to suggest that it's okay for our kids to be going back to school right now, that they're in no danger, because whether they are or not, their parents and family members are, their community is. And that's just, I'm
Okay.
sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Dalby?
Hi. So to maintain or to build up public trust, transparency has been mentioned, and I think that that's a pretty straightforward consideration. We should always be transparent in the decisions we're making, and especially how we are spending money and implementing programs and hiring staff. Also communication. So transparency goes so far, but sometimes transparency is passive, but we need to be active communicators. We need to elicit information from our stakeholders, from our students, from our families, and do it in a way that is scientifically sound. Sometimes the data that's being gathered by the school district is not scientifically sound data gathering, unfortunately. So we're not always getting the complete picture. And then also to be able to admit when you're wrong and demonstrate how you're learning from those situations and growing from them and making changes. It's really important to make sure that the community knows that you are going to be flexible in.
I'm going to stop you there. Okay, we are at the point where we will do our closing, and you have any time up to 2 minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, or some place in between. And we will begin with you, Ms. Griffin, for your closing statement.
Okay. In conclusion, I have been a member of the school board for 12 years. Being a member of the school board requires vision. You have to keep in mind not only today, but well into the future. What will that future be like? How can we best prepare our students for that future? What are the essential tools that they will need? We know how quickly our society is changing. We need to give all of our children a fair shot at success. Through early quality childhood education, we now have preschools on several of our sites. We can begin the process of equalizing the playing field for those students. We can provide a quality education in the elementary years to prepare students for a better education in their later part of their secondary education, where they will be able to choose whether they want to go further academically or if they want to choose more hands-on career technical education, whatever is best suited for them. We want every child to have an opportunity to fulfill his or her dream for the future. So what I would like to see is that we continue with this board, which is a cooperative, productive board. We have been able to achieve wonderful accomplishments, and I want to see those things continue. To have a divided board, to have our board turn into something that becomes politicized would be the worst possible thing that could happen. So I would urge voters to consider that very strongly. If you like the things that have happened over the past 12 years, please continue with the incumbents and you will see the change and improvements continue.
Thank you. Ms. Krueger.
Thank you so much to the League of Women Voters for having me tonight. I am a team player that's excited and has a deep passion for this community and the future leaders that we're raising. I feel called to collaborate and to be a part of the solution on our school board. Like I mentioned earlier, we are facing uncharted territory in education, and it's important for our school board to advocate for the parents, teachers, and students in our community and work on behalf of the educational excellence of the children in our district. Chico needs a change, and I'm excited for the opportunity to be a part of the solution. I am hopeful for the future because I see it in the eyes of our children.
Thank you. Ms. Hovey.
I wasn't quite ready yet, but I'll go forward. So, as a vision for the future, one of the most important things is the collaboration between board members, the district, and the district staff, as well as our students. It's paramount that we all communicate and collaborate. Going forward as well, though, I have talked about this several times this evening. I really feel that as a board member, you need to be prepared to have the fiduciary oversight of the Chico Unified School District budget, which at the beginning of this event was said to be over $100 million. That's no easy task. My 13 years as a school business manager, along with my 8 years on this school board, has given me the knowledge, the experience, and the skills to safely navigate Chico Unified through the coming challenges ahead. And I would hope for your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Tennis.
I agree with much of what was said about collaboration among colleagues on the board, and I don't want to send an inaccurate message about what sort of person I am. I've been collaborating with people for years. I've been a youth leader, and as I said, I've worked in government, and I know how government works. I've sat on the Butte County Water Commission for the last 3 years, and that's been a very collaborative experience, which I've enjoyed with working with my colleagues in that context. I'm a natural leader. I understand how government works, and I think I could bring very valuable perspective to the governing board.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
There we go. I'm sorry about that. Well, as hard as this current board has worked to deal with what is really, I guess, an unprecedented crisis, I firmly believe that we can do more, and I think that we're going to have to. Frankly, I think the board would be served with some new ideas and some new blood as an institution. We are in uncharted waters right now, and whether we like it or not, we need to be rethinking some of what we're doing right now. Ultimately, the mission is to educate our kids. Are we doing what's needed to make that happen? As we are looking to recruit new teachers to fill vacancies, we need to find teachers that, through an aggressive recruiting process and salaries that can attract new educated teachers that not only can teach, but they're flexible enough and familiar enough with the technologies to be able to adjust if this continues on. If we have other circumstances that come about, they're going to need them to be flexible in that manner. We are where we are, whether we like it or not. And I think that we can move forward, but I think that we really do need to have a couple of new ideas, new blood in the system, as it were. So with that, I have nothing else for myself other than to simply like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters, Ms. Green, and all of my fellow candidates for stepping up. Regardless of how this election goes, I think we're going to be in good hands. And so for that, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Dalby?
Thank you. I just want to close with saying that I am a natural leader and advocate. It's who I've been since before I was an adult, serving on multiple committees, heads of committees in school districts for curriculum adoption, standards review, etc. So I have much experience in the behind the scenes workings of education. I see firsthand how school board decisions and how superintendent and district leadership decisions trickle down to our classrooms. I see how it affects our students. I see how it affects our families, and especially our most vulnerable at-risk students and families. My current classroom experience through the trials of our community has faced these past few years, not just with COVID, but with the campfire, with jobs and mental health issues in our community, just the fragile structure of the North State with trauma. I've seen the cracks in our educational system exposed. And I see the need to provide opportunities for our students and our families to be able to have flexibility and encouragement and empowerment within the school system to thrive, not just academically, but as a whole system, as a whole family, as a whole student. And we can do that with smart leadership that's based on the most current research. With the support of our community, I will ensure that our schools meet those diverse needs of our students under these ever-changing circumstances. And I hope that with this and my message that I have earned your vote, and if not, that you at least find these matters.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the formal portion of our candidate forum. To the candidates, we'd once again like to thank you. Your passion comes through. Thank you for running. Thank you for being here. To our audience, we can't see you, but we know you're out there. And please, to everyone, please be sure to vote on November 3rd. Thank you very much.